to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Sometimes the heart sees what is invisible to the eye.
And Dale Hummel.
When in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
You're a little quiet this morning.
Well, it's early.
Just how early is it in the Pennsylvania world?
It's 6 o'clock in the morning.
I'm at 7 o'clock, so I'm fine. It's all good here.
Mm-hmm.
What I assume you're judging in Pennsylvania today.
Yes, but not till 6 o'clock in the evening.
But you could take a nap after the recording.
Uh-huh. You're right.
There's something to that.
Normally after I'm awake, there's no napping.
Got it. I would love to take a nap. That would be a phone or alarm clock?
Alarm. Make sure that I was here.
I am kind of back off. I had no real jet lag. I'm back in almost normal time. So I'm excited to go to a cattle show this morning once we get done, and it should be a good day.
Wonderful.
Do we have anything of current? I am absent from current events once again, but I did hear something about Joe invoking I don't know if he's even done it, talking about invoking the climate change defense emergency something.
I don't know. I have heard. I don't know
if he does it. They were talking about shutting down more offshore drilling, basically squeezing our energy supply even further. How do you think that's going to work out for the midterms?
I don't think any of these people are doing anything for the midterms. Like, I don't know what they're doing or who's leading them or who's making the decision.
You assume they're trying to.
I don't think so. I don't. No, I don't think so. I think they're oblivious to everything. He tapped the oil reserves for the 5th time. I mean, if he keeps this up, there will be nothing left. Another 20 million barrels. So,
and I believe if you read that those oil reserves are more for times of defense,
right,
in extreme measures, not just to try to bump gas prices a little bit, a penny.
Yep, but this is the 5th time he's tapped them. Trump had them full, and so again, you keep talking about midterms. I don't even think these people know that midterms are here.
I don't know. I think a lot of them will distance themselves from him. And speaking of gas, remember, I think I calculated, and I'm not saying it was accurate calculation, but the gas in Switzerland at over $12 a gallon. Argentina fuel, would you like to attempt to guess?
No.
$2 a gallon.
True.
I thought maybe about renting a barge, sending some north.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know traditionally. I think traditionally it's more in tune with ours, but for some reason, I'm assuming they have their own production of fossil fuels, and they're not squeezing it. Pretty much like the same as the rest of the world, except for Joe's.
No, well, we were energy efficient under Trump. Independent, excuse me.
Exporting. We don't. I don't think we do that a lot now. We did. I didn't have confirmation, but I did see a news story come across. I think we mentioned last time that we sent 1 million barrels to. I am not positive, but I thought China. Out of our reserve. I can't imagine how that is possible.
I don't.
Maybe it was inaccurate when it wasn't a news story, but I thought it was a couple weeks ago.
I don't know.
I assume Hunter had that taken care of.
Did
anything more break on the Hunter Biden saga?
No, not that I know of. But
they continue to say how that something's coming. I would think if it's coming, it would have been here by now.
Evidently, Manchin caved, and he's gonna agree to the Build Back Better thing now.
He did not.
Yeah.
Why on earth would he do that?
Him and Chuck came to some agreement, but it's still early in the working. But that was a headline that came out last night.
Him and Chuck came to an agreement.
Yep.
I'm thoroughly confused.
What do you mean? What are you confused on?
When you're saying he and Chuck came to agreement, wouldn't they be on the other side?
Chuck Schumer? They're both Democrats.
Agreement on the Build Back Better that he's going forward with it.
Yes.
I thought he was at odds with every Democrat and nobody would even speak to him.
Evidently not, because
I thought they were wanting to shoot him in the kneecap.
I'm telling you, him and Chuck met and they came to an agreement on something, and here we are.
You're sure this is not fake news?
It's on Fox.
Remember, you're supposed to go to that garage news story once in a while. The garage news.
No, I
They're a
don't.
little more
I
accurate
don't.
sometimes.
I do not watch the people that do that. No.
Newsmax, that's it, I think.
Yeah, I don't do that. No.
I did see a story. I have that those
They're as crazy as CNN and MSNBC, just in a different way.
We did see that Trump was going after CNN for defamation of character back in 2016.
I did not know that.
Yeah, lawsuit. Now, and then that was, I think it might have been the garage news flash again. So take it with a grain of salt.
So there you go.
For some reason, I'm sure I'm getting my Fox News here in Argentina, but I'm not. I must be missing some of those.
Joe Manchin and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced they came to agreement on the reconciliation package for Build Back Better. See, I'm not crazy.
I would expect Manchin to be powwowing with the Republican side of things, but no,
he is a Democrat, Dale. You do know this. I
understand, but he is not. There is nobody the Democrats dislike. I don't know that they dislike Trump more than Manchin at this moment.
Well, Build Back Better is happening,
and Manchin would not be up for election in the fall.
I would assume not. No,
I haven't heard any polls or anything like that as of recent.
And the only other thing that it's dumb, but anyway, Camel Toe had some. I don't even know what it was about. I don't know. It was a bunch of women sitting at a table, and they all had masks on. And anyhow, she says that she's so happy to have all these important people here sitting with her to discuss a variety of wonderful issues. Her name is Kamala Harris. Her pronouns are she and her, and she is sitting at the end of the table in a blue suit.
I saw the blue suit meme somewhere.
And so everybody at this table went around and gave their pronouns and described what they were wearing.
Gave their pronouns?
Yes.
I just don't understand.
And she wonders why she's polling less popular than Joe Biden, if that's possible, but she is.
I assume she still has in the back of her mind intentions of running for the nomination.
Joe is running.
We have discussed this before. You do remember this discussion.
Joe is running for president.
Why are you so delusional?
I'm just telling you, that's what they said it again yesterday.
I appreciate your optimism, okay?
I am not optimistic. I am telling you what the White House said yesterday.
You know they are lying, so why repeat it?
I'm repeating what the White House said. Even in Rona, they said he is running.
Well, just so the listeners are aware of this, some of these current events may be just a touch out of date. We're recording earlier than we ever have, I believe. What's our producer, Clifton? Oh, he's partying in Sturgis next week. Is that what he's doing?
I don't know. Clifton said he was busy, and you were busy, and so I woke up God knows what time in the morning to do this. So we would have an episode every week.
No, I'm not busy next week. I'm just busy this week. So we had to go a little earlier than usual in the morning time, not necessarily the day.
Mm-hmm.
But all good. What do you have in addition to our current events before we go into Junior Association news?
I don't have anything else. I'm done.
Then you tell us, do you have a top 10?
Yes, I do have a top 10. I pulled that up. Don't you have some sponsor stuff?
I always have that, but I allow you to go first.
Norman. You go right ahead, because I got to pull up a sponsor deal.
I was nicknamed, I think, Waterboy on one of the messages that I got here, and they were asking questions. I think it may be one of those question and answers that I was searching for late last night and pulled up. But they were asking a lot of water questions, and I continue. I hear now it's in Buenos Aires. It's a balmy 55 to 65 degrees. I hear Oklahoma, Texas, still just a little bit warm and a little bit dry. Great time when we're thinking about hauling livestock. We're going to any shows. It doesn't matter where we're at in the continental U.S. right now. It's probably a good idea to make sure we keep those animals hydrated. Show Fresh H2O is going to help with that. It's simple. There's nothing complicated about it. You simply put the product in the water that's probably city water at a lot of our shows. It neutralizes the chlorine. The animals drink more. Is there anything complicated about that, Ryan?
I think you're the most complicated person I've ever met, but I mean, that's just me.
Everything that goes through my mind is very simple. It has to have logic. This has logic. even my children, they're tired of loading 50-some 5-gallon buckets of water. They would like to just dump fresh H2O in the bucket. The livestock drink it. Life is good. So we appreciate their continued support week after week. I'm not sure how long they'll be with us, but I think they're pretty excited about getting the news out there. I think they've had a pretty good run or a pretty good base before we even started talking about it. So hopefully they continue to support the junior livestock industry, and they do it more so or even more than just through this sponsorship in our episode. But I think they're obviously a company that's willing to give back and promote this industry, and we appreciate it. Thank you, ShowFresh H2O.
I want to give a shout out to our latest corporate sponsor, Brock Farms Angus Cattle, which is a fourth generation family farm located 45 minutes west of Indianapolis in the town of Stillsville, Indiana. David and Chris Brock, with their children Andy and Katie, maintain a herd of 150 commercial Angus, focusing on raising genetically superior cattle and striving to balance phenotype and production. Brock Farms Angus Cattle offers breeding stock, feeder calves, and freezer beef. They have a unique cattle operation offering both high-quality commercial cattle as well as top Angus genetics and competitiveness to win in the show ring. So we really, really, really appreciate Brock Farms Angus Cattle for being our latest corporate sponsor and all they do for the junior livestock show industry, but particularly for their support of the BTRJLA. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I am going to read the top 10 intermediate lambs at this time. And in first, to no one's surprise, she's been at the top since the beginning, Piper Liska with 435 points from Yuma, Arizona. Second is Gabrielle Ralt from Carmel, Indiana. Third is Blake Holmes from Vernal, Utah. Fourth is Mason Rockstall of Wamego, Kansas. Fifth is Claire Murrieta of Stanville, Arizona. Sixth is Haley Bird of Gerber, California. Seventh is Sam Baines of Bloomington, Indiana. Eighth is Montgomery Bertram of Wheeling, West Virginia. Ninth is Hannah Seaver, Redwood Valley, California. And 10th is Clarissa, I'm going to mess this name up, Clarissa Janessa of Filer, Idaho. Clarissa, if I got that last name wrong, I'm very, very sorry.
Congratulations to our top 10 Lamb Showman Intermediate Division is where we're at?
Yes, that's what that was.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. It's time. Dress for success. Who would have came up with this topic?
That would be me. So, I don't know. This is going to make the most people angry, and I just don't care. But
how can you make people angry with this one? There's no way.
I'm fixing to piss off every junior national that's ever been held.
Oh, why would you do that?
Because it needs to be said.
Well, you're going to talk about dress code and putting everybody in the same.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You can throw Kansas City in there, I think, as well.
No, they've never hired me to judge anyway, so it's fine.
They may not have done it last year. I don't remember. They have in the past.
I'm just going to be honest. I think it's ridiculous, and I've heard all of the reasons why, that everybody's in the same shirt, everybody's uniform, everybody's this. Nobody can tell the judge to use the person in the pink, purple, polka dotted, long sleeve, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Look.
Okay. Let's give our listeners just a little more base first, just so they know what you're talking about. When we're going to the junior nationals and they decide to have everybody wear the same t-shirt.
Yes, it's a t-shirt. That is my biggest problem too, by the way.
Got it. And you're opposed to this is what we're getting at.
I am very opposed to it. First off, no one looks professional in a t-shirt. No one looks professional in a t-shirt. I do not care.
There are few situations that applies. Very few.
They do not. No one looks professional in a t-shirt.
A t-shirt's appropriate to go watch a beach volleyball or something like that.
I'm talking at a show, in a livestock show ring, no one looks professional in a t-shirt.
I agree.
Okay. Secondly, you can give...
I always have an undershirt on at a livestock show.
I told Callie what the topic is. She's like, you can't do this. I said, watch me, I can. She says, what an excellent fundraiser it is. Have the t-shirt, raise the money, get the people to write, put the logos and all the things on there. Just don't make them wear it in the show ring.
Then how are people going to see it?
I don't care. Make them wear it to some other event, Junior National Week or whatever. But no one looks professional in a t-shirt. And then again, they say, well, this way nobody can tell the judge to use the kid. What if they can tell the judge to use the girl in the pink polka dotted purple shirt, long sleeve shirt? Let me tell you what, they can send them a picture of the kid or of the animal or of 900 other things. So don't give me that either.
It may be easier to be the pink polka dotted shirt. They don't have to look as hard.
Don't give me that. No.
Now, Callie was trying to help you out here. When I showed up out at the show,
I don't care. It's the truth. No one looks professional in t-shirt. Nobody.
I can assure you, Callie was the most decked out at the Palermo show of anybody I saw.
Yeah.
She was dressed professionally.
Exactly. It just does. It's not a good look on anybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. And I'm not going to change the world with my opinion. But why would one of the best things about this program is we stress individual success and all this other stuff. And we don't have groupthink and we aren't like a flock of sheep, all this other stuff. But that idea speaks directly to all the things that we're not. Everybody look the same. Everybody be the same. And no.
I agree with these things. I think it hits you.
You just don't want to agree with me because you're afraid somebody's going to be mad, and I don't give a shit. It's wrong.
No, I agree. I'm going to take it. I'm going to get hate mail from some of the ag teachers on the West Coast. And I think we told the story before. The situation that I had, and it was for a different reason, not advertising or anything, but in California, in Oregon, Ryan, some of those shows, if it's even the county shows, this was at Oregon State Fair. I don't care. I'll just call it right out. We talked about it before. It was close to 100 degrees, which is hot in Oregon. I'm judging their State Fair hog show, and all these FFA kids are coming out in what, Ryan?
Blue and gold jackets.
Corduroy, heavy, hot jackets, 100 degrees, sweating. The pigs are fighting with, it's a mess. I get on the microphone, and I'm sure I talked about this before, and I said, guys, I'm okay. It's okay if you leave the jackets back at the stall. I understand. It's crazy hot out. I think it's a little ridiculous that you're in a jacket at 100 degrees. And I bet there's no less than half a dozen ag teachers right at the microphone stand when I turn around, when I get done giving that instruction that cannot happen. That's disrespectful to the FFA. This is our rules. It was a mess. And I just don't, I come at it from more of a practical side that the t-shirt, sure, I'm sure it's cool enough. I agree with you. It does not come across as professional. I don't know if it's I think the kids understand or the youth understand that they're putting it on because that is protocol rather than, I don't think they're going because they wore a t-shirt at Junior National. They're going to go to Louisville and show in a t-shirt. So I don't think it's impacting them from that standpoint.
No, because they don't even want to wear them. I asked those kids and they're like, no, we don't like this.
I agree completely that they are normally opposed to it. Most of the kids. I don't think they're opposed to getting a free t-shirt, but they just don't want
No, it's nothing. I don't care about getting a free t-shirt. That's great. I just don't think you should make them showing it. And again, you're talking about the FFA jackets and all that stuff in California. And I'll just say it. The whole white pants thing, it just drives me insane. I do not understand it. I do not understand why anybody would make white pants part of a uniform to work and show animals in. It's just crazy.
You see, I don't think it was directly to show animal. I think just their official dress in general. But FFA are generally dark. I think the white pants are, but I do see some with FFA. I think the white pants are definitely part of the 4-H dress code in their green ties. Remember those? And sometimes green hats.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of the hats, and I don't think those kids are either, but the white pants drive me nuts. And then again, I'm not going to change anything here, and I'm going to get hate mail. I don't care. I think that's ridiculous. But and there is also something to be said, and most judges would agree with this, even though they're not going to say it because they don't want to offend anybody. Literally, when you do this, when you make everybody wear an FFA jacket or everybody wear a 4-H uniform or everybody wear some stupid t-shirt, makes it much harder on a judge because you literally remember. I mean, if it's a huge show like a junior national, you remember animals by, okay, the girl that walked in the pink purple polka dotted shirt, that was a really good heifer. I mean, that stuff like that sticks with you. I don't care who you are.
I agree completely. I have it's more so in a pig show because we're in motion and that kid's in a different. It's not like they're the same line that they came
Right.
in. Absolutely, and most of the time when I'm talking those pigs, if we're not pinning them the top end, I'm talking about the young lady in the pink shirt or whatever that is when we're describing it.
But I'm off my soapbox on making everybody dress like each other. I just, I hate it. I really do. I'm not gonna lie. I hate it.
So let's talk about just how should we dress. Let's go that your the topic, dress for success.
I'm done. That was my part of my topic. You handled the rest of this. I just wanted to get that out. I wanted to get my point out. I'm done. Okay. Going back to bed now, Dale. Bye. No, I'm joking.
Good night. Enjoy your morning. I have been pretty extreme about this. If you were to talk to some of my former team members that I coached on collegiate livestock judging teams, some say I took it to an extreme beyond what should be allowed. But there was a time in my life that I was very particular about certain things, and how one of my students presented themselves in a livestock judging contest to better help them succeed was a very, very high priority. So I had a hairdresser. Not that I had a lot of hair to worry about, but this one was really good. Each student that was on the team, not the female members, but the males, they were to go to this hairdresser 2-3 days prior to. I'd set the appointments up before the contest, and she would give them all a high, tight haircut. They'd sit down. They would not have input on how their hair was going to be cut. They just sat down. She cut their hair, and away we go. Worked out fine. I had very few of those students complain about it at all. On occasion, I would have one. You probably wouldn't have gone for that real well, is my guess. But you're going to present yourself professionally anyway. So with that, also, I took them shopping and made sure that we're going to buy sports jacket A. We're going to use this color tie. We're going to do all those things. And I promise you, and I know, and some people are going to think, well, that's crazy, or this seems silly. And I'm sure at the moment, some of those students thought the same. But I guarantee you, when they walked into that reason room, and Ryan, you and I have talked about this so many times. You talk about the first few seconds after they open their mouth. You talk about when as soon as they come through as soon as they touch that doorknob and open that door, opinions are being formed. I remember we talked to or quoted Cade, my nephew, about that resume. Basically, when they come through that gate, they've got those few seconds to present themselves, and I've got a pretty good idea in showmanship where they're going to be. The same thing when they walk in the reasons room. I know we want to be accurate, we want to present well, we want to all of those things, but I promise, to a certain degree, whether the officials want to admit it or not, that impression on how they're dressed is going to make an impact. Doesn't mean that it's going to be the same for all officials. Some officials may be perfectly fine if they come in a t-shirt. Unlikely, but maybe. But I guarantee you, at that time, a larger percentage of the officials wanted that clean haircut. They wanted that neat, starched, pressed look, all of those things. And I still believe that today. If you're given to me, that's where I want you to be. I'm sure things change, and it's all going to continue to change. But for the most part, I instilled in those students that they have to come across professional. And secondly, I want you to come into that room with some personality so they somehow form a connection where that official can think, well, this is a likable person. If they're a neat, clean, professionally dressed person, somebody's put effort into and thought into how they're going to present themselves and has some personality, if they go through there and say a couple things that maybe aren't completely accurate, they're more likely to be forgiven. They're not as likely to get beat up for it. Is that logical?
Yeah, I think all that's logical.
And I have no idea what you would have came in the reason room. I'm going to assume you stood out, which is also something we need to talk about. There's nothing wrong with that, especially.
I only had to change one time for Skaggs, and
but I bet a couple times it concerned him.
Oh, I'm sure it concerned him every time, but he did make me change before the National Barrow Show. I'll never forget. I was like, really? Really?
Well, I can see.
I was angry. I was the
Oh,
most
I don't.
angry.
I do not doubt that you were angry about that. At the time that I went through the National Barrow Show as a collegiate, it was pretty old school officials. I
I
mean,
won reasons, okay?
I understand that. I believe that I was in the same position and won the contest, but it was if I would have went in there. I'm not saying if I dressed differently it would have mattered, but I think it would have. I really truly do. Talk a little bit about it, and we can come back to this. But I think, Ryan, there's something to be said. Now I'm going to say my if you were on one of my judging teams, the jacket that I would have attempted or recommended for the others would not have worked for you. I don't know if the exact haircut would work, but there's just that effort put into looking a certain way or a professional look. But there's nothing wrong with standing out as well and not blending into the crowd. And you're the expert on this one, whether it's conscious or not. Think about it when we send out a wild, painted up, crazy colored goat, or you've got a black lamb, something that's different out in the show ring from a livestock standpoint. I tell people if they're really, really good, that probably works to their advantage. If they're average or less than average, it probably works to their disadvantage because the judge is going to look at that one. They're going to look at the good and the bad. They're more likely to get the judge's attention for the better or worse. And that's where I parallel you into walking into the Regents room. I have a feeling you had loud jacket on. I do not remember, but I'm assuming you did.
I would not say they're not loud compared to what I wear today, but they were definitely louder than the other kids and I never wore the same jacket twice. That's just tacky. But anyway,
At a contest, you wore a different sports jacket every contest you were in.
uh-huh.
You've got to be kidding me.
No.
And Cherie went along with this. She's okay with spending that kind of money.
Uh-huh.
I need to talk to your mother.
Yeah. Well, anyway, good luck with that. But again, I don't care if it's judging contest or show ring. I don't think it's about the amount of money that you spend. I think it's about looking professional. And again, like you said, starch jeans, which these kids hate starch these days for some reason. I don't care. I still think you need at least what I like. I prefer a long sleeve button down shirt on guys. Ladies, you can wear long sleeves. It doesn't have to be a button down. I know you've got a lot more options, all this other stuff. I'm just going to say I like things that tuck in regardless of who you, male, female, whatever. I'm not a fan of the big flowing long shirts that some of the girls wear, but it doesn't penalize them. I just don't think it's I don't think it's a good look and ring. And again, on footwear, I know Dale told me the other day when we were talking about on showmanship weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I said that I don't like white sole shoes. And he's like, I don't think it's a problem. Da-da-da. Now all he can see is white sole shoes. So it is a problem for him now.
I don't know that I discount him for it, but it does hit me a little harder. Yes.
But I don't discount anybody. I just used a kid 2 nights ago in a showmanship
you said
division.
That you do not want them that, and if it's close, you're going to beat them.
Yes, but it wasn't close. He was the best one, so he won.
Okay, got it.
But I don't like it. I do not like white sole shoes. I do not, and that's how it is. But I don't think you have to have on boots. I think you need to have on a leather shoe of some kind. But I just think you need to look sharp and professional. And it does not take a lot of money to do that. It does not. And
no, I agree completely. So when I go back and you're talking about it doesn't need to be expensive, I want to hit on that just a little bit. I also can use a story, and I'm going back to the livestock judging side because of that specific experience when I would put them in a certain type of sports jacket. At that time, Ryan, I'm going to say even while you were judging, I'm not trying to age a lady at all, but I'm going to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, 90% were still in a blue jacket, maybe more.
Oh, in the judging team?
You were judging?
Oh, Jesus Christ. 99.999999999. Yeah, all navy.
I was trying to be conservative.
With gold buttons. Blech.
Yes, it was that way for probably 20 years prior to you judging.
Y'all all look like drones. It was like the Stepford Judgers.
I don't know what the pattern is. There a houndstooth? Is that a pattern?
Yep, I had one of those.
Okay, so I go out and find a grayish, I don't know, green, a houndstooth jacket. Which at that time, can you imagine how that stood out amongst the judging teams?
No, it stood out when I
Absolutely.
judged.
Yeah, I thought it was it was a very professional look. We get to Louisville, and that team had just won Reasons as a team at the American Royal. And we're at Louisville in the coaches meeting, and another coach brings up that we should be disqualified as a team because we're in a uniform. The kids all dress the same. I believe a couple of kids had different colored ties on, but they did all have the same sports jacket on. Guess what most of the other teams had on, Ryan?
The same thing. There was just all navy.
Exactly. And they said, well, I'm trying to go out there. I'm spending a fortune, making these kids spend a fortune to look a certain way so they get a better score in the Reasons room. I have news for them. Those jackets were cheaper than the blue ones they could have bought. So it wasn't about the money. It was more about just coming in with a really good look. And they looked a little different. This was a team that I had a tremendous amount of confidence in, just like when we talked about you take an animal that looks different in terms of color or something into the ring, it may help you because it's getting their attention. But if it's not a good one, you're probably going to hurt yourself. If those kids stood out and went in the ring or went in the room and did a poor job, it's not going to help them. They're going to remember that kid was dressed a certain way, gave me a terrible set. I think it works the other direction if they go in and give a good set. But the moral of the story is that this dressing the same and looking a certain way. So to me, when that coach or coaches brought out the fact that they thought this was not adhering to the rules because we have them in a dress code or all the team members dress the same, they obviously thought it was going to work to their advantage. So why would they not have dressed their kids differently?
They just didn't think about it, and they were angry that you did.
They would have seen it the couple days before at Kansas City. But yes, no, I get it. And again, that is not why they did well. I'm not saying that's why they did well in Reasons, but I promise you in the subconscious of those listeners, the fact that they came in neat, clean, professional, starched, all of those things, all of that does contribute. Period. I don't care what you say. It contributes when you walk in the ring as a showman. Period. It does play a role, more so in showmanship. But I'm not going to tell you that I've got a very professional kid that comes in, and then I've got a kid that's in a t-shirt and his pants are falling off and everything else next. It forms an impression in your mind. It may have nothing to do with what kind of animal they're dragging, but guess what? More times than not, there is some correlation. It just is, period.
There is a correlation. I don't care what people say or whatever and all this other stuff. And I go back to the fact that people will not say this out loud and they don't want to talk about it, but there are things that subconsciously affect judges. And I'm telling you, how a kid is dressed is one of those things. That's just all there is to it. I know the people don't want to hear this, and I know the judges won't say it, but there are things that subconsciously affect how you do things, and how a kid is dressed is one of them. And that's just what it is. And people ask me all the time where I get my shirts, all this other stuff. My shirts are very, very expensive. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say they're not. But there are also other shirt companies that have printed shirts, that have paisley stuff, all this other kind of, stuff that are not expensive. I mean, I know of it's called French Crown. It's on the internet, and I send some people there. They're way, way, way less expensive than anything Robert Graham. And I own a lot of those shirts, but there's even cheaper places brands than that. And so, and again, I don't think you have to come out there in a loud shirt. I think if you come out there and you look nice and professional and neat, that's great. And I think that helps. But I do think, and I will say it, that I'm kind of against solid colors because somebody else is going to come in that show in a red shirt. So then there's multiple of you in a red shirt. I think if you can find a shirt that makes you stand out, that nobody else has, I think that helps things. And again, I'm going to get more hate mail for this, and I don't care because some of my very good friends do this. But this whole concept from the time that they are, whatever, 8 to 18, 21, that they're going to go in there in the solid green button down shirt so everybody knows that is XYZ and his daddy is XY. You're just trying too hard. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't. And again, there are lots of people that swear up and down by that. And I don't. I think it's dumb. I never wore the same thing. Everybody knew who I was anyway. I just don't get it. I don't understand that concept at all.
Ryan, I think that's exactly right. And you do see that a lot. You could say, well, maybe that's their favorite shirt or their lucky shirt. And you go a lot of directions with it. But I think the parents or the handler, whatever you want to call it, does put some of those kids in the exact same shirt every single time. I look at, I guess, the fact and usually that's a professional look. There's nothing wrong with it. You're just saying it's the same thing all the time.
I just don't think the principle behind it makes any sense. They've told me that that's so everybody knows who my kid is. And I think those kids look professional. Don't get me wrong, and they're great showmen, but the principle behind that is stupid to me.
I'm with you. I think with some of the younger judges, that's probably going to play more of a role than it would on the judges that are at the point in their career that they're not as concerned about getting that next show and so forth. But the fact that the kid comes into the ring or the youth comes into the ring and they've cleaned themselves up. I'm not saying wear an expensive shirt, just like you said, none of those things, but they're neat, they're clean, all of those things. The fact that they care enough to put that effort out versus the kid that comes in behind them that looks like they just rolled out of bed and it's a mess. The fact that they care enough and are competitive enough and want to do well plays an impact in the back of my mind, period. It just does. I'm not saying I'm going to beat that kid that's got a great one that's shirt's untucked or whatever, but it's going to play some role in the back of my mind. It just does. It is what it is.
Just using examples from things I don't the way you're dressed does have an impact. In showmanship, it has more of an impact for me because, like you said, I said on the podcast, and I'll say it again, I don't like white sole shoes. If it's ever close, I'm going to. If it's close, you probably might get beat because you have on white sole shoes. But then again, I used a kid 2 nights ago to win his division because he's the best one, and they were bright white, like probably came out of the box that day. But I remember last fall, there's this great little pig showman, and he didn't have a belt. And it bothered me, but I said on the mic, I said, if the only thing I can pick on you about is that you don't have a belt, you probably need to win showmanship. And he did. So, but that right there, I noticed that kid didn't have a belt on. And I was like, that's the only thing I can find wrong with the situation, but it still is there. It's something that, that happened and that I noticed. And so you just want to give yourself every opportunity to be noticed in all the right ways and not in a negative connotation at all. And so, again, I don't think it has to cost a lot of money, but there are people, and I know that there are lots of kids that work on their animals and do all this stuff, and they say, if a kid comes in there and covered in black paint because he's been painting a stair or whatever, all this other stuff, well, that's good because that kid works. I don't think that's good.
I'm okay if I can see that their knees are a little bit. I'm okay if I can directly associate it with they were helping fit in a rush at the last. All those things. I know you're going to come back and say you can find time.
You can find 5 minutes to change your pants. I don't care who you are, and that's just it. And that's my opinion, and yours is different, and that's fine. But like again, I don't get that principle because I can go and throw my kid on the dirt and make him roll around and paint him black, and he never touched a steer. Okay? So that's
true.
That principle doesn't hold up for me. It just doesn't. But that again, these are just my opinions. But
and you talk about, or we've talked about so many times that what we're doing in the livestock arena, that's great to continue to try to better yourself and have more success in the arena, all those things. But ultimately, what we're doing and what we're trying to teach these kids and what we preach every day is how to succeed into adulthood in the real world. I don't care if it's how you're dressing to walk in the show ring. I don't care if it's how you're dressing to go in for your first job interview. For everyday life, however you choose to present yourself is going to impact what others think. Good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to do that. Some more so than others. But we have to accept that that is part of our image, part of our first impression. You can't change that first impression. And more times than not, a person is going to see you before you ever open your mouth and form any opinion on what you're saying or anything like that. So think about it. It's the real world. It is what it is. Do I agree that you should have a dress code to go to a certain office job if you're never seeing that the clients never see you? There's a logical perspective that comes into play. But for the most part, if you're presenting yourself in a public situation and it relates to your job, your career, your livelihood, whatever it may be, why would you not want to present yourself the best you can?
No, and
it seems very simple.
Yeah. And I'm going to use a personal story on me. One of my very good friends and I have a huge argument over this all the time. Like, we don't even talk about it anymore. But I mean, we still disagree on this. And he's a judge and everything. And he and he's my age. He like has a fit when people wear jeans to judge him. Like, he thinks it should be khakis and all this other stuff. And I despise khaki pants. I despise them. Like, I mean, I literally, I have nightmares from having to wear them on the judging team as much as I did. I just don't. But the moral of the story is, I don't think that there is anybody that can say that no matter when I go in a ring that I don't look professional. They may not like my shirt, whatever, but I am starched, clean, boots, belt, da-da-da-da-da. This friend of mine thinks that khaki pants are the only thing you should be allowed to judge in. I don't. That's his opinion, that's mine. But, like, I think the whole thing is we can all have differences on what we might prefer, but you know when somebody looks professional and when somebody doesn't. If I was going out there in, jeans that had the knees ripped out and all this other stuff, I would get it.
I think it's just the fact that you've put effort into looking
right,
professional, clean,
exactly.
Neat. It's not whether it's necessarily jeans or not. I'm with you. I would prefer to judge in jeans, but if it's a bigger show and maybe we shouldn't care what size show it is, but it is what it is. Those jeans, in my opinion, probably better be starched, and you probably better dress up around those jeans a little bit to make it look the part. Not the jeans t-shirt, not any of those things. Make it look like, yeah, you put effort into it, and that's a good look.
No. And
that, I guess that's the bottom line.
No, I mean, I agree completely. That's something, and like I said, we have had this argument. It wasn't just a year ago. Somebody else put up there that they can't stand judges and jeans and all this other stuff. And again, it's whatever. But like, I think it's like you said. It's the fact that you made an effort, you did all this other stuff, and I don't think that there is anybody that can say that I do not put in an effort on my looks every single time I go in the show ring. But, and again, I don't know how much more you have on this topic, but I'm kind of getting close to the end because I gave my Sermon on the Mount at the start, but I'm fixing to really step on some toes here, and that's okay because I pushed for this topic and this was a part of it. I want to talk to you people outside the ring for just a minute. Not your child, not the exhibitor, talking to you other people. And I'm even going to narrow it down further. If you are one of those people that feels like you need to, like, get a saddle and ride your animal into the ring or hang over the rail and give instruction to your kids, so supposedly I know who that's you're associated with those animals, those are the people I'm talking to. Are you with me, Dale?
Yes, but how is this coming into clothing?
I'm fixing to tell you. If you want to associate yourself with an animal in that way by making a scene and making sure that I see you follow that in or you're hanging over the rail, I'm going to look at what you're wearing too. And
got it. Okay.
If you are wearing pajama pants or 900.
Time out.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to tell me
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that there has been a situation
Yes.
that a parent or a manager or whatever was in pajama pants trying to get your attention.
Followed the animal into the ring. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In pajama pants. Are you sure they were pajama pants?
Positive.
I've not seen a lot of people at livestock shows in pajama pants. I just have not.
Well, you can ask some of your friends from California because they were at the same show. So,
got it.
Anyway,
I'm not saying that you're lying to me. I'm just saying this is very unusual.
No, it is. But again, I'm just saying if you are going to thrust yourself into the situation and want to be associated with that animal by doing that type of thing and stuff, okay, that's fine. But I'm going to be checking out obviously you're wanting me to see you. So and I know that people have to be back there working and run all this other stuff. I'm just putting that information out there. That's all I'm saying.
Got it. I've got another. I'm going to relate something, Ryan, and this is going to. I think I don't know that you're going to approve of this, but the practical, logical side of me is good with this. And maybe Callie's already explained this, or you noticed it. So Callie and I are currently in Palermo at the Premier Cattle Show in Argentina, and it's an outdoor arena. And all day yesterday was the Angus Calf Show. It was raining.
Stop.
And muddy.
Stop. Before you go any further, I told Callie, and I'm telling you, don't ever give those people my name. Don't promote me down there to judge because I'm not wearing rubber boots and I don't do rain. So
that's exactly where I was going with. Now, I think I don't know on the lead judge. I know that the associate judges are in. 90% of the exhibitors are in muck boots.
Yeah, I saw
it. It is what it is. Are they dressed in a vest for the association, or they have? I mean, they're dressed fairly normal in terms of what you would go into the ring with in here.
Everything I saw all the snaps, and you can watch it online. Other than the muck boots, it's fine. But yeah, I'm not. No, I'm out.
And you see, and so I'm bouncing between the Hereford and the Angus ring yesterday, and right where the cattle go into the ring, they're going off of concrete into the sand. Right there is where
it's not sand, it's mud.
No, it's sand, but it looks a little muddy. So when they step off that concrete, and not just the cattle, but the exhibitors, there was one exhibitor, I bet he sunk down 3, 4, 5 inches when he first stepped in. And if he didn't have those muck boots on, I think we're losing. It's a mess. I excuse it because I don't know what else they could wear. And this is very out of character for me. But under situations like that, I'm okay dressing from a practical side of it if needed. But I know, especially you, Ron, I can say there's a lot of people, these muck boots, it would really hit them odd that people are out there showing. And some of them are judging in, but it is.
Callie said all of them are judging in them. All. Not some, all.
Yeah, the lead judge actually has his pants all the way down to his ankles. Not the muck boots are on most of them are actually over the pants, so you can see it. And maybe they are muck boots underneath, but I'm not sure. But if I remember last time I was here, there was a couple days that it wasn't as wet and muddy out there. I think it's almost become a tradition here that because it's usually going to be muddy and wet, they just wear them. It's very unusual.
It's very strange.
It does not hit me odd at this point, but just think if you hadn't been here before. And by the way, this is my bucket list show, period. So if there's anybody listening that's hiring judges for Palermo, I'm in. I'll take it. I love it. I do have some. I can't say that I wear them a lot, but I do have some. But what if you were coming down here? I didn't tell you about it. Callie didn't tell you about it. You're going to judge this show. You're not going to pack muck boots.
No, I'm not. And I'm
maybe they supply some for the judges. But I guarantee you, Ryan,
I'll just get stuck in the middle of the ring, and they'll just have to come get a forklift to get me out because I'm not.
I really believe. I mean, it would be a mess without them. And it started raining pretty hard yesterday, and they've got all of a sudden in the holding ring, there's the fitters and the crew are breaking out basically tarps to hold over top the cattle so they don't get wet while they're waiting to go in the ring. But I'm telling you, it can storm outside of hard lightning and 100-mile-an-hour winds. It doesn't matter how hard it's raining. The show continues.
There you go.
It's a very interesting situation.
And again, I'm not obviously not worried about judging Palermo or trying to judge Palermo. I just don't understand why they can't afford a roof.
Is it just a big stadium? I don't know if it's a soccer stadium or a polo. I don't know. Maybe this. I do not know.
Exactly. And Callie can't give me an answer either. So there you go. I'm like, why can't?
Well, I'm sure it's a multi-purpose stadium, and it's very much tradition. The show here, it's not going to change. The one thing that it does accommodate is a lot of people can fit around the ring in the stadium seats. It provides for a huge environment in terms of numbers of spectators, and it's so interesting to me that those spectators are not just people that came because you're showing an animal there. I truly believe there's actual commercial producers here watching the show and making breeding decisions off of what they're seeing, and occasionally buying animals. Imagine that, Ryan. There's a connection. You can't do that. That doesn't work.
No.
Doesn't. No, I assume not.
Muck boots don't work.
But
for me
it's
either.
I because of that I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just an interesting experience that I'm good with it. But I see well, just like the people, Ryan, if you were to come down here at this show dressed like you normally do at a show, you're going to stand out that much more down here because there's what we call accepted ways of dress. I would say everybody down here, and Ryan, I don't know if you notice it in the snaps or the videos, but it's all darker clothes, darker tones, I should say. There's just no bright,
and really stupid looking hats.
Some of them wear a hat that, would it be like what you'd see in Scotland?
I don't know what kind of hat that is. Callie is threatening to bring one home for me, and I said, no.
Not threatening. I believe she's made a purchase.
No.
I directed her to where she could buy one.
Bad idea.
So it's all good, and I know we're finishing up here, and I've been having some technical issues plugging into 220 power with my laptop and shutting down. So I hope Clifton is able to get this episode to flow together. I do appreciate the fact that Ryan woke up a little early, and Clifton even an hour earlier. I think I'm on.
Yeah, poor Clifton's at like 3 a.m. in the morning.
It's not 3. I'm like 5 or 4. I don't know what time.
See, I did the episode the week before completely by myself, and I told them all that you were going to be in a detainee immigrant refugee camp in Argentina, and that's why you couldn't record, and maybe you never come back. But
right,
you're here.
Great. Now, I was very angry about having to buy COVID insurance and doing some of the travel safe procedures. I threatened not to do them because I said they'll never check those documents. And guess what? When I got to customs down here, they did not check anything, Ryan. I did not need to spend the money on travel insurance. I did not need to do all of those things. But our project leader, he did mention if you either do it or you end up in an Argentine jail. So maybe you weren't that far off.
I was excited. Cherie didn't go to detainee immigrant concentration camp in Canada.
But you said she was going to.
Oh, I thought she would, but she gets to Canada just fine, and then misses her 12 o'clock plane for Louisville the next day.
Be
but
nice.
Glad she made it before.
Be nice.
My heifer was reserve grand of the show. That was nice of her, but I mean,
be nice. Well, I'm excited to be in Argentina. It's going to be a longer stay than maybe I need to be away from home, but it's all good. I appreciate Clifton and Ryan getting up this early. Ryan, did you remember? And I have not, obviously I haven't heard the episode, hasn't even dropped yet. We're recording way in advance on this one. Did you remember Show Fresh H2O?
No, I did not.
No, you just did your top 10, skipped it all.
That's right. I did not. I'm not the water boy. You're the
How
water
is Clifton
boy.
going to get paid?
You're the water boy.
Okay, maybe we'll talk about them twice in the next episode. The beginning and the end. We'll be good. We'll be all good. Okay, I'm trying to pull up some question and answers. How many would you like? 5 or 6 this time?
3, like we always do, please.
Okay, this one we've kind of I've got several that I'm sure we're going to continue to get duplicates. So I apologize if a couple months ago we answered this one, but I'm going to give it a try. I know we've talked about it anyway, but obviously we didn't make it clear enough. Question for the podcast. When showing cattle, I know people set them up differently, squared or 1 foot forward, the other foot back. Would you want a more natural look with the animal's leg underneath them or stretched out if it makes them look a little better? Had a judge tell the kids both ways, and it kind of had me scratching my head. Thank you both for promoting the livestock industry the way you do.
This seems to be like, I don't know why everybody keeps talking about this. This is very simple, and I'm going to make this known again. And
Maybe it's good that we come out just to hear it. Here's what it is.
and I just had a fight at the Beefmaster Junior Nationals with somebody on my team over this, by the way. But anyway,
Did you get him to square up from behind?
yes, but the uncle and I almost went to blows over it. But anyway, so I think that when you walk the cattle in and you're standing in a butt view, or what people call side by side when they're lined up in a butt view, I think the animal needs to be square from behind. It's just how it is. Like, then the reasons are, when you make the animal stand wide, the muscles are going to pop, all the things. That's what the judge is looking at in that view: is the top, is the hip, is the muscularity, is the width. So if you're standing wide, that is more appropriate than if you're standing narrow and in a profile stance. When you go around on profile, the reason that we throw the hind show side leg back is so we can make that hip lay as flat and elevate as much as we can, so it does give us a better, more fashionable look from the side profile. These are not just vanity things. These are things to actually help the animal look better. That's why we have a show stick. To position the feet to make the animal look the best they possibly can. I don't know why this is such a foreign concept.
I think it's because sometimes we do things without having a logical purpose behind it.
Well, I am not with you on this all the time, but this is something, this is logical, and this is how it has been. I don't know when these people went off the rails and thought elsewise, but again, that is the whole point of having a show stick, people, is to place the feet so the animal looks the best. I don't understand how we don't see this.
I want to input in there. You talked about getting the feet squared up from behind. You're exactly right in terms of what it does. Guess what? When you have it staggered, like we have on the profile sometimes, in a manner that's popular or trendy, you've tried to take the muscle shape out of them. You've done that. You've succeeded to a certain degree.
And so let me go further with that. I agree, but on the side view, it looks right. But every time I showed ever to this day, if my animal is on side view profile and I have him in the scissored pose, and that judge is coming around behind to look at my animal from behind it, guess what I do, Dale?
You may move a foot.
Exactly, and get them square. So when the judge is looking at them from behind, it's in the right thing. And then when they go back, I move the foot again and put them back to the profiled scissor view. That is called showmanship. You have got my blood pressure worked up all over again. I'm never going to get to go back to sleep.
I hope not. That is my goal today. I am with you there completely. I think it's no different. It's just more visible than somebody using a supplement because they saw somebody else do it. I get so angry that some people in our industry will do something just because they saw somebody else do it, even though they may have no idea how it works or why or any of those things.
Oh, I'm with you.
It just must be good because I'm out.
They walked by somebody and saw, they walked by somebody in the pig barn and saw that little tray thing that's got 900. And then may not even be what's in those buckets.
What I call the Mr. Fugit supplement cart, where he has 90% supplement, 10% feed, and has screwed the world.
And the whole thing is, what I love is the people that we're talking about. Those people may not even, if it says, whatever supplement, that may not be what's in that bucket. They just may be using that bucket for it. I mean,
I don't know. We're in the middle of question and answer, but one thing we forgot about on the topic we can insert just briefly here.
What?
Each species has a little bit different, the exhibitors or parents or those surrounding the exhibitors, a little bit different dress code. And I'm not trying to make anybody angry, but would you not say that those outside of the ring in the pig world are considerably more casual at the shows?
I think that probably
you're going to take it a little further.
I would say all the small species are a little more casual than the cattle.
I would agree, and I would take pigs the furthest, but there's no question those in the cattle realm, for the most part, are going to put more effort into their dress.
And I don't care what you dress like if you're not showing to me, unless you're one of those people that thinks you need to attach yourself to the animal. Then, you know what? If you want to be seen that bad, I'll see you. Just saying.
Got it. Well, hopefully we're good on the question on the scissor legs from behind, all those things. Okay, now unfortunately,
It's called showmanship, people. It's called showmanship. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, I found another question.
Good.
We can at least get two here. Hey guys, love the podcast. Have not missed an episode. Today is Dale's turn. Now you see, I was trying to avoid this question, in case you're wondering, but I'm in a position where I don't have others right in front of me. But you're going to answer it first.
Ooh.
Not sure if you can do a whole episode on this or if it will be a lengthy question and answer. You mentioned this in the past about head skull shape at a young age directly correlated to the rest of the body down the road. I completely agree, but would like some deeper conversation about such. Go ahead, Ryan.
I don't know where he wants me to go with this. I mean,
just the correlation, and I guess when I remember talking about it, we were talking about with the skull and just how that correlates as we move back into the animal.
There's lots of different ways you can go with this, but like I do think that head size, head shape, skull width, jaw, all those things. I think it's just like every other part of an animal. I think that they all kind of correlate and go together, and the better. I don't like bad-headed animals. I don't. And like people make.
Yes. And a head that I like, you're going to maybe call ugly-headed. There's going to be differences, period.
And I have used the term on the mic before. This one has a head only a mother can love. But I just think that, you just talking about pigs, I don't like those anteater headed jowled ones in that deal. It bothers me. Again, I think there is a correlation to that. I do. And I think in terms of size and shape, and this is probably where Dale is going to tell me how wrong I am, and that's fine. And I'll, whatever. But like small headed ones, normally those are earlier maturing, shorter, more conventional, all the things, in my opinion. Like if you've got one of those little pug-headed animals.
Agreed. No, there's a correlation to it. I can take it, maybe summarize it a little bit. And again, this is just my opinion. It may be completely wrong, but in 90% of the situation, and Ryan said it, that head shape or that skull shape, just like other parts of the body, is going to correlate and proportion out with the rest of the body. I'm not saying there aren't exceptions, there aren't freaks out there that defy this. But if you have, I don't care whether you talk about pigs or cattle or goats or sheep, if you have a younger animal that's just stouter skulled, wider headed, simplify it, wider between the eyes, not a long, narrow head and long, narrow face, but a stouter head, more times than not, that skeleton's going to be a little wider, that animal's going to be a little stouter, that animal's going to be a little earlier maturing, as Ryan put it. And I'm not saying that you need to select for a certain head one way or the other. Some people in cattle, on those females, they want a long, narrow head. I call it dairy head. But my problem is when we got those extremely long faces and narrow heads.
The Roman noses on the cows drive me crazy. They drive me crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, not all the time, but most of the time, you can take that long, narrow head or that stout skull and follow it back. That long, narrow-headed heifer has probably got a pretty narrow chest floor in her. She's probably a little flatter sided. She's probably pretty narrow back through her hip. We can get her fat. We can put hair on her, and we can probably make it work. And then you have one with enough that's still real feminine up through her face. And we talk about that femininity and that long face and that neck, clean neck, all of those things. And I understand that is popular, but expect that to follow that long, narrow head as a baby. If we're selecting a buck to keep as a baby, we can have some that would be just that you would think the head is perfect and their body proportions are really good, Ryan, that make a great wether, but maybe not enough of an outlier to open up offspring as a buck. So if we've got that stout skulled one versus an average skulled one, the rest of their body proportions or quality is similar. I'm going to lean towards that stouter one every time because that's a little bit more of a changer, and I'm relying a little bit that that correlation will probably hold true as it matures. And unfortunately, we got to make some of those decisions when they're younger, whether we're going to keep them bucked or not, and how they're going to mature. And that's part of it. And I think maybe that's what the gentleman that asked the question is getting at is how much emphasis do you put on this? I don't know that you put more or less than anything else, but the point that I want to get across is there is no question there's a correlation. And outside of the United States, there's a lot more people that study the head and study the jaw in terms of how it functions and how it relates to the rest of the body than what we do in the United States. I can think of most of the cattle shows that I go to. I don't know about most. It's not common that people are going to be talking about the heads. Ryan, you mentioned it in a good or a bad way, but I would say a lot of people, let's just use the cattle ring, and they're going to talk about it more there probably than others. We do not. We'll go for several classes without ever mentioning a head, or some judges will. Would you agree with that?
No, I think very few mention it.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. I know I mentioned it that at the Aberdeen Angus show last month that I did. I talked about the heads a little bit, and I'm sure some people were scratching their head saying, "What is he talking about?" But I did have a couple of breeders that it was very refreshing to them because they must pay more attention to the heads. And I have there's a certain type of head shape that Ryan likes. There's a certain type of head shape that I like. It's not going to put you first to last or anything like that, but it's all part of it. And in all reality, those things proportion. It just is what it is. Just like foot size and some of the things that we select for in certain areas are because it proportions throughout the body. There are exceptions, but that's where it is. So
this is getting long, and I know it is, but I'm going to say this because several people have brought this up to me when I said this. Not they weren't mad or anything, but like I talked about one head shape being wrong or whatever, all this other stuff. Somebody on multiple occasions have come up and asked me about that and whatever, and they're like, "Well, you don't eat the head. Well, you don't eat the bone on one either, and you don't eat all this other stuff, but it matters in a show ring. So yeah, don't come at me with that kind of stuff. I mean, like,
don't do it.
I mean, you don't eat the tail head either, but it kind of affects how things get placed sometimes."
Okay, final question. Again, you can tell that I'm scrambling for questions because I usually avoid the questions directed to me. Just human nature. Question is for Dale, aka Waterboy. That's where I saw it mentioned earlier.
I love this person.
Adam sends us in. I'm going to leave the last name out because I can't pronounce it. With the state fairs approaching, how much water should a market weight animal be drinking daily? Question mark. How much water do you personally drink a day? Question mark. Looks like humans should drink 15.5 cups or 3.7 liters of fluid a day. Okay, I'm going to approach how much water I drink a day.
Yeah, me too. Because you know this, but
I am absolutely in agreement and understand the science, the logic, the practicalness, everything about it. We should drink more water. I should drink more water. I drank 2 bottles of water on the flight down to Argentina, a 10-hour flight from Houston, I believe, and that is about as much water as I'll ever drink during the course of a day, just straight plain old water. Should I drink more? Yes. I think I could actually drink 3.7 liters of water a day? I know people do it. That blows my mind that's that much. Should you? Yes, absolutely. How much should a market weight animal drink, depending on the species and obviously its weight, I'm sure it's going to vary. My thoughts on that are, except for in a goat or a lion, except if we're trying to adjust fill. With that exception, I want not a certain amount of water in terms of gallons.
Just as much as you can possibly get in them.
Continue to offer it to them in a manner that they're likely to drink it. And I want as much. Now, if it's a goat and it's within 4 or 5 hours of going in the ring and the belly's already pretty big, well, no, I'm probably going to pull back then. But up until that point, let's say 8 hours out, I would like them to drink a 5-gallon bucket of water, a little bitty 80-pound goat. So as much as they physically can put into them, and that I feel very, very strongly on, outside of adjusting fill. In cattle, obviously, we want the more the better, unless we're dealing with a weighback or something like that. So as much water as you can get into them, outside of some that we need to adjust for fill, How much water do I drink? Not nearly enough. And I strongly encourage every listener to drink more water.
Yeah, I don't
How's
drink
that?
enough water either. And again, you know this, but I landed myself in the ER just a few days ago because I don't think I drink enough water. And the moral to this story is if you're going to pass out, don't do it in a hotel lobby. Okay? It's a terrible idea because they have rules about things. Like they don't not let you not go to the hospital. I'm just saying.
They cannot force you to do something like that.
Okay.
You're a above 18 adult.
Okay. Whatever.
We are not in a communist country.
Okay, whatever you want to think, little man. But I'm just telling you.
I think the moral of the story is you should drink more water.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
You don't drink any plain water.
No, I don't drink plain water. I don't.
Red Bull tea, that would cover.
And I drink like flavored Gatorade and some of those.
That works.
Some of those and I drink Body Armor, which is a form of Gatorade, and I drink some of those vitamin waters. No, just regular plain water. I'm out. It's tasteless. No, I'm out. But
you see, and I have a hard time with it, but I'm making a conscious effort to drink more water.
There you go.
Is that 3 questions?
Yes, thank God. The longest 3 questions in the history of the world.
Oh, and I was about on my way.
You did a terrible job.
A half hour ago.
You did a terrible job.
I could have been at the show by now.
Terrible job.
Okay, well, thank you for getting up early, particularly Clifton. Ryan,
Poor Clifton had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
You are not.
Poor Clifton.
I'm going to go visit Callie out at the show. I'm going to snap you some muck boots. What else do you want us to do? I'm going to get you everything. The mud, the rain. I am so excited to get back out there and study. It's a good trip so far. With that said, thank you all for listening and be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?